It seems to be business as usual for some herders in the parts of the southern states, especially in the rural areas, as they continue to graze their livestock in the open despite the ban on such activities. Reports from our correspondents across the state suggest that little has changed in the way herders have been grazing their cattle, goats, and rams since the takeoff of the ban on September 1st. The only exception so far is Ondo State, where the state security network Amoteku on Thursday arrested 3 herdsmen and 56 cows for allegedly violating the anti-grazing law. The suspects were arrested at Iwara, a community in Ikare Akoko, headquarters of Akoko Northeast local government, after allegedly destroying a farmland. The commander of Amoteku Corps, Chief Adetunji Adeleye, confirmed the arrest and vowed that the law would be enforced across the state. He asked leaders of Herders Association to educate their members on how to conduct themselves without creating conflicts. The arrested persons were fined for their actions. The Seriki Hausa Agungba Akoko, Alhaji Idris Jimil Ismaila, thanked the governor of Ondo State for allowing them to settle out of court and promised to get herders comply henceforth. It was gathered that herders in the rural areas of the southwest, southeast, and south-south are going about their business unmolested. A resident of Anambra State, Dr. Elo Afoka, told the nation that the pronouncement of Governor Willie Obiano on the ban was insufficient without a proper law. The only way to run a society is by law. Any civil society is run by law and not by utterances, Afoka said. He alleged that clashes between the cattle herders and communities in the state persist, and the people are yet to see the ban implemented. Another social commentator in the state, Ima Okafor, told the nation that the impact of the ban on open grazing has not been felt in Anambra State. He said the governor was expected to present a bill to the State House of Assembly based on the agreement reached by the 17 southern governors, yet he refused to act. Information and Public Enlightenment Commissioner Sidon Adinuba had earlier told the nation that the government inaugurated a committee to ensure harmony between herders and locals. The leaders of Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, Alhaji Gidado Sidiki, corroborated the government's claim. A farmer in one of the rural communities in Oka North local government area of the state said herders still encroach on farms. But a 62-year-old woman who does not want her name mentioned said harassment from the herders has reduced a bit compared to 2-3 years ago, adding that the herders still move around the state with their cows. The situation is not different in Abia State, where a law banning open grazing is already in place. Asked why violators has not been arrested, the chief press secretary to Governor Ikpezu, Mr. Onyebuchi Ememaka, said the police, Abia State Command, should explain to the public why they have been unable to enforce the law on anti-grazing as signed into law by the governor of the state. A resident of the state, Mr. Ohari Stephen, said the police should ensure compliance with the law. Meanwhile, investigation shows that a large number of herders relocated from Ebonyi State before the takeoff of the ban on open grazing and following 2 attacks on residents of Ohaku and Ishelu local government areas earlier in the year. A resident of Aniocha local government area who gave his name as James said the herders were a terror in the area. They raped women, attacked and killed people, and destroyed farmlands. They contributed to the increase in the food prices as many farmers suffered poor yield due to the destruction caused by cattle. Bayelsa State Information Orientation and Strategy Commissioner Ayi Biana Duba said the enforcement of the anti-open grazing law passed on March 10, 2021 has been effective and restored calmness in the state. Since we started enforcing the anti-open grazing law more than 6 months ago, we've not had the frictions that we were seeing before, he said in Yenogua. I think for now there is some kind of calmness. We've not had any skirmish anywhere so far that are reported to us. At the beginning, the herders were carried along in the processes before implementation started. It is not as if they were left outside of the entire process. Several meetings took place. I think so far so good, particularly with the movement of herdsmen. We have not heard those issues we used to have before the law. I think there's a considerable compliance because we have not had issues like we used to have before. We have some level of peaceful coexistence in the state. Although the last week, herders and their livestock were sighted on the Owerri-Port Harcourt Road, Nekede, Ogo, Okpala, and the Federal University of Technology Owerri, Futo. Information and Strategy Commissioner Declan Imeluba said farmers and herders are peacefully coexisting in the state out of mutual respect and understanding. He said the state already has an open grazing law which became operative since 2006, adding that the law provided for areas that are restricted from open grazing and that the herders have been abiding by it. The Association of Southeast Town Unions, ASETU, has threatened to embark on protests against any governor in the geopolitical zone who delays in putting the appropriate law on anti-grazing in place. Speaking with the Nation, in a telephone interview, spokesman of ASTU, Collins Opuruzo, said the community leaders were disappointed with some of the governors in the southeast that were yet to act on the collective decision of southern governors on the issue. Opuruzo accused the governors of paying lip service to the only law that gives protection to their citizens. He said, after the September 1 deadline, we're already meeting to take a decision on that. We may be forced to mobilize in Digbo for protests against any Southeast governor who is here to legislate on that all-important ban. To us, the verbal proclamation has no impact whatsoever on open grazing until a law is put into effect by the governors. As ASETU, our position has always been that there is a need for legislation that will ban open grazing in Igbo land. We started this over 5 years ago and went ahead to dispatch letters to all the Southeast governors and their houses of assembly urging them to legislate on that. But we're disappointed that almost all the governors in the Southeast are paying lip service to that. Also, the Apex Igbo Sociocultural Group Ohanaeze Ndigbo has said that open grazing of cattle and its attendant consequences might continue in Southeast because of the absence of any law prohibiting it. According to the spokesman of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, Alex Ogbonia, you can't be talking about the impact when the law is not in existence. It is only when the law exists that you think of how it is impacting on the people. For now, open grazing is still in operation until a law is brought into existence to that effect. However, the Enugu State House of Assembly last week passed the bill prohibiting open grazing. The bill, however, is yet to be signed by Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi